Hey everybody, it's Hanny Mahmood, CPA, owner of Accountable Consulting. Hope everyone is well. In this presentation, I will give you an overview of W-4 allowances and how this could affect your net take-home pay each pay period and how that could affect your tax refund. So sit back and enjoy, and I hope you learn something new. Hey everybody, it's Hanny Mahmood, CPA, owner of Accountable Consulting. Hope everyone is well. In this presentation, I will give you an overview of W-4 allowances and how this could affect your net take-home pay each pay period and how this ultimately will affect your tax refund or what you owe. So sit back and enjoy, and I hope you learn something new. All right, W-4s. Although W-4s are not talked about often, if you are a W-2 wage earner with hardly any deductions, how you fill out your W-4 will play a factor in whether you will be getting a refund or will owe at tax time. A picture of the W-4 is listed on the slide. If you want to view a full copy of the form, just Google W-4 and you'll find one easily. In a nutshell, the W-4 determines how much federal and state withholdings will come out of your paycheck each pay period. Each state has a simpler form like the W-4 they use, but for this presentation, we will make the assumption that the states use a W-4 as well. For the more allowances you put on line H of your W-4, the less federal and state withholdings will be taken out of your paycheck. I will go into some examples of this in the next couple of slides. Last thing to note before I proceed with examples is that not all payroll companies withhold the same, even if your W-4 is filled out the same, unfortunately. Example, you and your friend make the same amount of money and fill out your W-4s the same, but work at two different employers. Throughout the years of me preparing the taxes, I've seen different federal and state withholdings being withheld by two different HR departments. This leads to both of you getting different refunds or amounts due on your tax returns. Then this conversation happens. Hey Aaron, how big of a refund did you get back? I got $500 back. Thomas replies, what Aaron? How much did you get back of a refund? Hanny only told me I'm getting 150. Man, I need to talk to him. I'm not happy. Sound familiar? Can you tell I've heard it before? Again, these differences cause a lot of people to scratch their head and blame their tax preparer, but really the tax preparer has no control of how much was taken out of their check each pay period unless they actually filled out your W-4 and analyzed the amounts being withheld from your paycheck on a pay period basis. If you are just a straight to W wage earner with no deductions, again, how you fill out your W-4 and how your HR department withholds for federal and state withholdings leads to how big of a refund you will receive or what you will owe at year end, which to some people is the end of their life or a reason to change a tax preparer or CPA. One last thing to note, Social Security and Medicare are fixed amounts, so nothing could be changed for that tax. Time for some interesting examples that may apply to you. All right, first example. If the total amount of allowances on line H of your W-4 is zero, the payroll company slash HR's department will withhold the greatest amount for federal and state taxes out of your paychecks each period. Since the maximum amount is being withheld, this results in a bigger refund. For some, this is an awesome thing, and your tax preparer slash CPA is your best friend and hero in life. But I'm here to tell you the truth. Getting a bigger refund in this case could be an unwise decision for many, as the government took your money for a year, interest free, and then gave it back to you a year later. For some people, they like having an influx of cash after year end to help get their year started out right. But let's say if you adjusted your W-4 correctly to where you break even when you file your taxes. You can now have utilized the extra cash flow from the refund that you would have gotten each pay period throughout the year instead of waiting for it at the end of the year. So if you have any questions about this, let's chat about it further. Okay, example two. For this example, let's say you have two jobs which you work simultaneously throughout the year. First job salary is $100,000, which is you work full time. The second job salary is $20,000, which you work part time. Both W-4 allowances are set to one. You probably haven't thought about it this way, but the two jobs are not communicating with each other and do not know how much you're actually making at each respective job. Since your $20,000 salary job is only withholding based off your W-4 allowance at a $20,000 salary, when combining your two salaries together on your tax return, you may actually owe as a $20,000 salary job should have withheld at a higher rate due to you making $120,000 annually. If this could be the case for you, it may be best to change your federal withholdings for both jobs is 0 and ask your $20,000 salary job to withhold a certain dollar amount extra each paycheck to help offset the shortfall of your tax withholdings. So when you prepare your taxes, you just break even. All right, so on to another example. All right, example three, similar to example two, but with a twist. You have two jobs. First job salary is 100 grand. The second job salary is $60,000. Both W-4 allowances are set at 1, but in this example, you left job 1 halfway during the year. Again, the two jobs are not communicating with each other and do not know how much you're actually making. The $100,000 salary job started to withhold federal and state withholdings evenly each pay period at the beginning of the year at $100,000, as they didn't know you'd be leaving halfway throughout the year. Since you left halfway during the year, at that time you probably overpaid federal and state withholdings before starting your new job due to your old job withholding federal and state taxes at a salary of $100,000, but in reality, since you left halfway during the year, you really only made $50,000. As for your new job at $60,000, they would more than likely withhold federal and state tax withholdings evenly each pay period for the remainder of the year at $60,000. Depending on how the payroll company handles this, they could withhold your federal and state withholdings evenly each pay period at a salary of $30,000 because the other half of the year already passed. But again, this is a conversation you should have with your HR department. So in this scenario, you would probably get a bigger refund back at tax time due to both jobs actually over withholding. If this example actually applies to you, it may be best to change your withholdings for your second job from a 1 to a 2 or 3 to help offset the refund you'll be getting at tax time. Very important, make sure you change your W-4 allowances back at 1 once the new year hits, as if you don't, you could be putting yourself in a deficit for the following year. All right, example four. Let's say you make $35,000 a year, file as head of the household, and have two children. You typically get a refund of 8 grand. Let's say 3,500 of this refund consists of a federal withholding overpayment, and the other 4,500 of the refund is based off refundable credits such as the earned income credit and additional child tax credit. Your current W-4 allowances are at 2. If this is a scenario, it may be a good idea to increase your W-4 allowances so you wouldn't get back the $3,500 overpayment of federal withholdings at tax time. Instead, you could utilize that extra cash flow each pay period instead of getting it back at year end. Again, some people like the influx of cash at year end. I do not blame you, nor am I criticizing you, but for others, they need all the cash they can get each pay period instead of having to wait for it at tax time. All right, now that you have listened to all the scenarios, please remember these examples slash scenarios are hypotheticals. I cannot effectively tell you how to fill out your W-4 without reviewing each pay stub for each pay period, and your salary must be consistent throughout the year. Example, if you get commissions or bonuses on top of your salary, it will be difficult for me to gauge your withholdings throughout the year as it could fluctuate. Also remember, it is not always a good idea to get a big refund back at year end. Remember that cash flow could have been utilized during the year instead of getting it back at tax time. Example, let's say you were able to save your projected refund of $3,000 throughout the year instead of getting it back in January or February of the following year. Let's say you invested that money in the stock market throughout the year and you did well and made a 20% return on the $3,000 you invested. You now earn $600 of additional income and still have your $3,000 intact. Now, this is how you create wealth, which I wish for anyone. Lastly, an effective CPA such as myself will ask you questions to see if you qualify for other deductions rather than just reporting your W-2 income, which could ultimately lead to you receiving a bigger refund or helping you reduce your tax liability if you owe. Even if you do not qualify for the other deductions, the knowledge of CPA such as myself can offer you in the long run can pay for my fee twofolds. I'll provide you with tips on how to save money on taxes the next go around if nothing can be done this year. Just some things to consider when determining if you want to try to prepare your taxes on your own or not. Okay, so we're at the end of the presentation. Thank you again for watching. I hope this video was informative and will help you decide the best way to fill out your W-4 allowances next time. My contact information is below if you have any further questions. If you or anyone else is looking for a good CPA, please share this video with them. Thank you again and all the best. All right, so we're at the end of the presentation. Thank you again for watching. I hope this video was informative and will help you decide the best way to fill out your W-4 allowances next time. My contact information is below if you have any further questions. If you or anybody else is looking for a CPA, I would encourage you to share this video with them, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you again, and all the best.